one of the big important things in my life was when my husband started to go to the church when it first opened, and it was in August. And I wasn't convinced of leaving the church we were attending because I was a Sunday school teacher and I had a large class of junior and senior high girls. And I didn't want to leave my friends, and yet I knew that I had to do some changing because when I read the literature, the Sunday school literature, was anything and everything but about what the Lord would have for the children. What did they want to be when they grew up? And there was nothing about the Lord serving Him, following Him, or doing or living for Him. So I knew I had to make a change, and I had to make it fast because we had 2 young boys coming up. So the first night that I walked into that church, it was a Sunday night, they played the music, and when the pastor got up and started to speak, he just read the Word of God and started to speak from his heart. And he loved the Lord, he loved missions, he loved our little community. He felt God had called him out of the Shamokin Alliance, and he started to pray that God would open up this church here in Ellisburg, and his name was Reverend George Rotting. And I remember the church was not attractive at all, but oh, the love for the Lord, that's what touched my heart and led me to come to that church. And then some of the fondest memories I have is the privilege of living by our pastors. We had wanted a house, and the owner of the development who built the church had this house built, and it was 2 years old, and they were going to put it up and sell it at the end of the year. But if we would take it before the end of the year, we could have it for the back taxes. And so that was an answer to prayer back in 1966. And we had the privilege of living by the pastors. And one of the things that stands out in my mind was our pastor's wife, who was Linda Wrights. Pastor Don Wrights they lived next door to us with their 2 girls, and then they adopted 2 Korean boys. I had to go over there. I had locked myself out, and we had given her a key, and her husband was out, and my family was out, and she went to get the key to our house, and she had her family down that night, and there she was with her Bible, and there she had the names of everybody in the church, and she was going over and praying for each family. And I know that made such an impact in my life. And from then on, Jim and I made a special point to pray for each family coming in. And I must say, at this present time, we haven't been there for about 3 months. We've been at the campgrounds, the ministry, the park ministries, and we don't know all the new people coming in, but when we go back in September, that'll be one of the first things that Jim and I do, is find out all the new people that are coming and start praying for them, because they are our family.
We will remember, we will remember, we will remember the works of your hands, and we will stop. We will remember, we will remember, we will remember the works of your hands, and we will stop and give you praise for grace.
first night we came there was 8 people, plus our 4 made 12. That's how we started. Marion told you what happened to her. And we were only there about 2 weeks. Sunday night service, and Reverend Rotting said, Brother Williams, how about you praying? What he didn't know was I never prayed in the public before. Where I went to church, he didn't do that. I prayed in my home in devotions, but I made a gulp and I started praying. And so about every 4 weeks it was my turn. Everybody took turns. The men, we only had a couple of men. So I'd try to get ready and get set. Every time it would come, I'd try to learn a little prayer to say, but I wanted to learn how to pray, and I wanted to learn how to pray like some of those prayers. So I came to prayer meeting. We only had a few people. I came to prayer meeting every time we had a evangelistic service. We had prayer meetings, cottage prayer meetings in the homes. I went to the homes. It was just wonderful to learn how to pray. And one of my best recollections was back, I think it was the first or second year we had an evangelistic service at the community park. And we had 13 people saved. And it's never been that way. We never had that many, even a year, but 13 people that week. And the first person that got saved, he's coming back on our 50th anniversary. I call him, he's coming back, and he'd like to say something, so that means a lot to me too. But when we first started, we only had a few men, so we all had about 4 or 5 jobs. And it was neat though, but it was just so wonderful to see how we started out real slow. It took a long time, but little by little, we grew in the Lord, and our people grew. And just to see so many people coming. I think I was an elder for about 35, 38 years, and it was just wonderful to be part of it, to go to visit. We love to visit. I love to go to hospitals and the homes, and we tried, anybody that's ever sick, we tried to be there. And we're still, even though we're probably one of some of the oldest in there, our hearts are still there, and we're still, Marion's reaching out. I don't know how many times lately she took things to people that's been sick and all, and we just feel very strong that God still wants us there, and we're not finished yet, and he still uses us, and that's what's grateful. We don't want to be on the sidelines. We want to be in the game, and that's why we're thankful that we can still be there.